My name is James McDonald, and I'm with Washington University in St. Louis. And I wanted to welcome you today to Financial Aid 101, where I will give you an overview of what financial aid is and how you can use it not just at Washington University, but any institution. A few of the things that we're going to talk about today will be how to apply for financial assistance and the types of financial assistance. Throughout this presentation, I'll give you some key tips and takeaways that you can apply to any institution. So first, we'll talk about what is financial aid. Financial aid is money that a school will give to your student to help offset the cost of college, an institution, or a trade school. Typically, the college or institution will be the largest source of aid to your student. Other sources of financial aid will come from the U.S. government. You may have heard about the SEOG grant or the Pell Grant. Those are the two main resources of aid. The U.S. government will also allow students to borrow financial aid and provide federal work study. Within the state that you live in will be another institution of aid which your student can receive. For those of you living in Missouri, you can access the Bright Flight and the Access Missouri grant. And a final source of aid will be nonprofit institutions. That's one source that you don't want to overlook. Make sure to have your student apply to various nonprofit agencies. And the best source, or first source to start with, will be your high school guidance counselor. We'll break types of aid really into two areas. We'll break it into merit-based financial aid and need-based financial aid. On the merit aid, parents, you're off the hook here. It is just going to look at your student's ability to apply for something at the college that the college wants to reward your student for. So types of merit aid, or common types of merit aid, would be athletic and academic scholarships. Washington University is a D3 school, so we do not have athletic scholarships, but we do have academic scholarships. Need-based aid is going to be the common thread at all institutions. And for need-based aid, parents, you will be on the hook here. But the FAFSA, which we'll talk about in more detail later, that will look at the financial information of the family. So what will a school do as it determines your financial aid and your need for financial aid? It will look at three things. It'll look at the cost of attendance, it'll look at the expected family contribution, and from that, it'll create a demonstrated need for your student. So let's start with the cost of attendance. So most families will think about common things. They'll think about tuition, they'll think about maybe room and board, and they'll think about books and supplies. But I want to encourage you to think a little bit broader than that, not to have a scarier number, but so that you can think about all of the things that financial aid can cover. Think about maybe travel. Think about incidental expenses. Think about miscellaneous expenses. So the best source that you can use to find out the total cost for a college, and a key takeaway here would be College Navigator. If you go and you Google College Navigator, at that website, you can actually click on cost for the college and find the total cost. Now that we understand a little bit about the total cost of attendance for a college, let's talk about the family expected contribution. When you complete financial aid documents for a college, one of the things a college will do, it'll take that financial information and it will come up with an expected family contribution for your student. And what the EFC is it's the amount the family is expected to pay for 1 year of college for one student. So parents, if you have twins, you'll be needing to fill out these forms 2 times. How is the EFC determined? Well, it'll look at several things. It'll look at the household size. So think about tonight when you get home and you put the key in the door and you walk in, it's going to look at everybody in that household as that household size. It'll look at the number of students in college. So if a parent is in college, unfortunately, it does not look at that, but it does look at the number of children attending college. It'll look at special circumstances, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It'll also look at the family income, and it will look at family assets and savings. One key tip and takeaway here is it will not look at retirement values. That is a definite tip because many families will make the error and report the values of their retirement accounts when it asks about family assets. So do not make that mistake. With that in mind, we want to talk about the need-based financial aid formula. So this brings us back to that total cost of attendance. So again, think about everything. And when I say everything, I mean essentially from your door to the college door and back again. It can cover all of those costs, and financial aid can help cover all of those costs. You'll subtract the family contribution, and from that, it'll have the need for your student. And let's look at some examples. So here we're going to throw up a couple different examples. One college costing $50,000 per year. The other college will cost $30,000 per year. And in this example, the expected family contribution is $20,000. So you can see at the higher cost college, the student can actually receive more financial aid. So at the $50,000 cost college, your student can receive up to $30,000 of financial aid. And a little bit further, we'll talk about the makeup of that. But the good news is, yes, all of that $30,000 could be scholarship to your student. At the lower cost college, where it's only going to cost the family $30,000 to attend, because the family contribution is $20,000, the school will be capped at giving aid or need-based aid only up to $10,000. Circling back here to merit-based financial aid, that is a little bit of a different story. So for merit-based financial aid, a school could award that total cost. So in the first college, all $50,000 could possibly be given as merit-based aid. In the second school, $30,000. If they have merit-based aid, all $30,000 can be given in merit-based aid. So a tip here is, how can you find out what type of aid the school has? Well, again, we talked about using College Navigator, but something else you can use is just picking up the phone, calling the college, emailing the college. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you figure out how to make it possible for your student to attend their institution. So be comfortable talking with the institution. So how can you find out your cost at an institution? Well, the best resource would be to go to each individual institution website and in their little search bar, type in Net Price Calculator. The Net Price Calculator is a requirement that the government has of every institution. You'll spend maybe 15 minutes entering your financial information, and after you're done, the school will give you a report to show you based on their total cost. Here is what they can offer you in terms of need-based scholarship, need-based student loans, and need-based work study. And then it will leave you with that family's cost at that institution. If your son or daughter is looking at 5 or 6 schools, yes, this does mean you'll go to 5 or 6 different websites, enter your information, but at each institution, it will give you an idea of what your family will have left to pay. Typically, one thing the Net Price Calculator will not do is at most institutions, it will not tell you what a merit-based award might be, or it won't tell you what an athletic scholarship award would be. For that information, you'll probably need to contact the institution. How can you apply for merit-based aid? Well, it's going to vary. So Washington University, we will have some scholarships that are automatic, meaning once the institution sees your application, you'll be automatically considered for that merit-based award. But we also have merit-based awards where a separate application is required. The best resource or the best way to find out what the process is, again, is be comfortable talking with that college or institution. Call them, ask them, tell them you have your student very interested in the college and they want to apply for merit-based aid. They should be able to tell you or send you an email with step-by-step instructions on how to apply for the merit-based aid. Make sure to look for deadlines. In the past, Washington University had a pretty early deadline, and we had merit-based awards that would cover the full cost of tuition. We still do have those merit-based awards. But if a school has an early deadline, it's possible you miss out on that full tuition merit-based award, not just for the first year, but for all 4 years. So again, it's very important as your student begins to identify which schools they want to apply to, find out the various deadlines. Need-based financial aid Well, here the common thread is going to be the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. And again, we're circling back to what we talked about in the beginning. Parents, your information is going to be required here. You will fill out a FAFSA one time, but you can add school codes as your student identifies additional schools. So you may start with just Washington University or your top flagship state institution. Just add those school codes. The FAFSA opens up on October 1st for those of you who are seniors. So some of you may have already completed the FAFSA. If you haven't, no, it's not too early to start now and complete it. In terms of private schools will also look for a profile form. A profile form essentially asks many of the same questions as the FAFSA, but it will go a little bit further. It'll ask things about other children. It'll ask things about home value. It'll ask things about if you're paying for private elementary, secondary education, what you're paying for that. It'll also give you a chance to list special circumstances. Typically, maybe somebody's changed a job. Maybe somebody used to work a lot of overtime and they're not doing that now. So you can write in the special circumstance area, and that's an area that the college will read. It's also information that the college can use to change your need, maybe give the family more need because of the additional expenses the family is covering. In a family where it is a split household, so parents are divorced, a private institution may also ask for what's called a non-custodial parent profile form. Again, if you're not sure if you can complete all these forms or if you should complete all these forms, you have that key takeaway already, which is be comfortable talking with the college. Don't be surprised if it differs from college to college. So again, it's important as your student identifies their list of schools, maybe make a table and list the different documents that each school requires. Now, who submits what and when you're going to submit it? That's what we'll talk about a little bit right here. And how long will it take you? Typically, the CSS profile may take anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours to complete. Usually that's because the form asks around 200 plus questions, but not every college or institution is going to import all 200 questions. For the FAFSA, which is the common form, this is also free. You will spend maybe 30 minutes doing this form. You can check with your high school. Many high schools will have what's called a FAFSA Frenzy Night. Those are great nights. You'll actually just come in with some of your documentation, maybe your 1040 from 2019 for those of you who are seniors, and some other financial information, and you'll be able to leave after that high school Frenzy Night with all of your information completed. If they do it online, as some do, you can actually meet with a counselor such as myself, and we would connect electronically and help you fill out the FAFSA form or the profile form during one of those financial aid nights. How often are you going to complete the FAFSA or the profile? The FAFSA you'll actually complete each year to renew that financial aid. Typically for the profile, you'll just complete it one time. The profile does have a cost associated with it, and if you're concerned about the cost, talk with the college or institution. They may be able to waive that fee for you. What income do you use? We talked about for those of you who are seniors, you're going to be using your 2019 tax return coming up for this fall 21 and spring 22. So for students entering their first year of college, it is going to look at the 2019 tax return. Again, if you're concerned, if you've had changes in 2020, whether job changes or big changes due to recent events, contact that school, talk to them. You'll still complete the FAFSA using the 2019 information, but the school can work with you when they learn about the additional changes that the family has had. For the FAFSA, there's a new tool that's been out there for a while. It's called the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. So after you've started the FAFSA and you get to the financial section for parents and financial section for students, you'll be offered the option to link the FAFSA with the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. It's a great tool. and I encourage you to use it because it will fill in a lot of the information for you, answer all your financial questions correctly. That's one of the things that we need to look at and check after you filed your FAFSA. It will give you what's called a SAR, a student aid report, and you'll want to look at that information. Make sure if you didn't use the data retrieval tool that you didn't leave a zero off your income, or you didn't add a zero to your income, which would change the financial aid award at any institution. What are the components of the award? So you've taken the time, you've filled out the documentation, you've looked at colleges, your son or daughter now has their list, and you're now starting the application process, and the thing that you're waiting for is that financial aid award. When that award shows up, it typically is going to have three things. It's going to have scholarships or grants, usually from the institution. It'll have a work-study job, and it may have student loans in it. What I encourage students to do is be open to receiving all of these. Don't tell a college, oh, I don't want work-study or oh, I don't want loans. Be in control of everything. Say yes to everything. And maybe later on you win an outside scholarship and you'll use that to replace your student loans or use that to replace your work study. Some colleges and universities will allow scholarships to stack on top of your financial aid. Other schools will have to make adjustments to your financial aid. Washington University, we have a policy in place, and we've had it in place for a long time. Outside scholarships, if you receive something from Coca-Cola or any outside agency, you can stack that scholarship on top of WashU aid all the way up until total cost is covered. So, why are scholarships and grants so important? Well, it's money that your student will not have to repay. So it's money that the school is going to give them to help them cover the cost of college. A key tip or takeaway here is after you open that financial aid award and you see it, probably talk with the school. The first thing you want to know is, how do I renew this award? Do I just need to file the FAFSA? Some schools, that's all you'll need to do. Do I need to keep a certain GPA? If it's a merit-based award or an athletic scholarship, what happens if I get hurt playing for that team? Do I still retain the scholarship? Well, those are questions you want to ask individually of the schools. So call them up after receiving that award if you're interested in attending that institution, and just have them walk you through the process of renewing the scholarship. Have them walk you through the process of how do you keep the scholarship. Is there anything that would cause the scholarship to go away? For Washington University, most of our students, what they start off with in that first year, they typically have that award all 4 years through college. If it's increasing or decreasing, something is changing with the family. Maybe they're going from one in college starting off in the first year, and 2 years down the road, now they have two in college. Well, WashU would want to give additional financial aid, and most other institutions would as well. Or maybe you start with two in college, and now you go down to one. Well, that can impact the award, and the award could be reduced. If you're concerned about any of those things, call up the school's financial aid counselor, and they can walk you through how the award changes. Outside scholarships, that final piece, maybe you won't know those right away, but make sure your student applies for some outside scholarships. Sometimes people look past the smaller values, $500, but personally, I've seen students walk in winning 10 $500 awards. Now you have $5,000, no longer a small amount. Work-study job. So those typically are going to be jobs that you work on campus. They're going to have flexible work hours. It's going to help you build a resume. And it's going to be somebody, especially if your student is going away to college, they'll be in front of another parent. A parent who might ask your student, do you need to study more tonight? Do you need time off tomorrow for a test? How is your day going? So good things in my book that you want asked questions of your student. Finding out about how they're doing on a daily basis. Sometimes students or parents think, well, maybe adding work and studies is too much, but that's where I would encourage you to look at it and give it a second look, because it might be something important that they want to do. And certainly they're going to be building real life skills even before they graduate from college. The third type of financial assistance that will be offered by the institution will be student loans. Student loans will typically come in two types: subsidized, which means no interest while the student is in school, and unsubsidized. Unsubsidized will be offered to a student, but the interest will begin to accrue right away when the student borrows. Talk with the college, find out a couple things. Find out their average student loan debt, and find out their student default rate after college. Having a low student default rate or having a low average student borrowing means that there's other assistance available to the college or to the student to help them pay for their education, which would be why they have a low student average debt rate. Or if they have a low default rate, it means the students are able to be employed after graduation and repay their student loans. The last way that students are going to pay for college will be outside scholarships. And again, we've talked about this a little bit, but it can't be stressed enough. Too many times students do not connect with their high schools and apply for outside scholarships that are right at their fingertips. I would always encourage any student, even if you log in and you do the net price calculator and you see that you have a great financial aid award, I would still encourage that student to apply for outside scholarships. There may be something that they could win and defer until summer to use it for summer school. There may be something that they could win to help them buy a computer. Always good to have additional options. And this slide will help with giving you some ideas on how to apply for outside scholarships. Other ways that families are paying for college, well, some families are saving through 529 plans. So if you have a 529 plan, you would have listed that as a parent asset earlier on the FAFSA. You will also look at private alternative student loans. That could be for the parent or for the student. The federal loan for the parent is called the PLUS loan. That would be something that for that expected family contribution, if a family doesn't want to come out of pocket to cover that cost, the family could apply for the federal PLUS loan and use that to cover that expected family contribution. So now how do we bring this all together? Well, we'll talk about a few things and give you some of our best advice. Look at the college or institution. Find out if it is a good fit for your student. So how do you find out that? Well, look at things. Look at the graduation rate. Do a visit. Do a virtual visit. Find out if it has what your student is looking for. Also, tell your story. So earlier we talked about you're completing your FAFSA information, you're completing your profile information. As you're writing that down, you're looking at that information and you're thinking, boy, something is really different this year. Something has changed. Well, that's a story you need to tell the college. That's what we would call at Washington University a special circumstance. So you need to quantify those things. You need to reach out to the college. Find out. Maybe they have a form that you can complete where you'll give that college or institution the additional information and they will be able to change the financial aid award for you. And make a friend in the financial aid office. If you have questions, even if they're not about Washington University, you can contact myself. And the last piece of advice, think about that admission letter. So at Washington University, for example, last year we had over 25,000 applicants for a freshman class of right around 1,750. For those students who were admitted, that admission letter is telling them something very special, that institution wants you there. They want to figure out a way to make it possible for you to attend. And if you're looking at that financial aid award letter and it's just looking like it's not possible, again, be comfortable. Pick up that phone. Call that financial aid counselor. Let us talk with you. Let us find out what we can do to help you make that dream school a reality. This brings us to the end of our presentation, and I want to thank you for spending time with me today and letting me help you find some tips and takeaways for financial aid at any institution. I'm going to put up some contact information, so if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out, even if it's not about Washington University. Have a great day.